Let's take a look at the match, and as you say, this is the one that saved week one of the finals in many respects. It was one out of the box,
This is one of the great finals performances individually. So Isaac Heeney in the first half, if they didn't have him in this first half, he was clearly their best player. This is mark of the year. If they still paid it in finals, that has beaten everything. He was unbelievable in the first half, and then in the second half, he just took himself to a new level. Clearance work with Chad Warner, but started to go forward, played a lot forward in this last quarter. They needed to kick the winning score. Longmire put him forward, and he was just an absolute genius. 30 disposals, 3 goals, one of the best finals performances I've seen in a long time.
He's just so tough. And he said after the game, he just said, I realised I just had to crack in. So the inspiration that he plays with, the fact that he can go forward and be so damaging, but also just win the tough finals footy, was there, TJ. Sorry,
just before you get on to the final quarter heroics from Sydney, should the mark of the year and goal of the year be included in the finals?
Let's discuss it in the agenda later on the show, TJ. It's a good conversation to be had.
The other one,
that's Damo's code for shut up, Tony.
the other one, and not for the first time this year, was Chad Warner. I mean, 14 touches for the first 3 quarters. He had 13 in the last quarter, Damo's man. And without Bedford, who didn't get up in this game, that would have been the matchup. So was that the difference in the game, just the fact that they didn't have anyone to go to Chad Warner late? But he was amazing. And so you put that with Heeney and Warner. But I also thought some of the lesser lights from Sydney late. James Jordan was enormous.
Lloyd.
Campbell, the super sub. Lloyd, the big goal that he kicked, and some of their defensive efforts. So I thought defensively they were quite poor individually. I thought Mills had a number of poor moments, but in the last quarter, I thought their defence turned it on. And to kick 6 goals to 2 in the last quarter, they did it again, come from behind.
Yeah, and if the Giants had won this game, we'd probably have them premiership favourites this morning. Now they've got to do it the hard way, and they did all but win this game. And they should have put the Swans away early. Some bad misses like Toby Green. This is a 9 out of 10. Should be 10 out of 10 for a player of his talent or anyone playing AFL football. This was a shocker from Peatling. Look at the score, the scoring shot.
Should have been 6 goals up, Lordo.
Should have been, Brownie. And then look at this, 20 points up. So it's just emotional. You just bury teams. Like, that's not the worst miss, but then this one, again, you kill the confidence off. You need to bury teams. You need to bury Warner and Heeney and these types of players and kill them off, and they didn't do that, the Giants, yesterday.
Well, when you say that, they would have been premiership favourites this morning had they won that game, we're not writing them off as a
They're in good
premiers.
shape. Their game's in good shape. And they can go the long way around with the week off before the finals now. It may even be better to keep playing. I mean, they've had the really tough game against the Bulldogs. They'll get Bedford back. I think you favour them at home against Brisbane, and then they're into another prelim final when you give them a good chance.
Just on that, apart from Hawthorn, I reckon one of their years they lost their first final. I can't remember it happening too many times. So
Swans might have done it once too, I think, when they were there. Always spice, always tension, always heat, always niggle between these two teams. It blew over into the quarter-time break. Now, I focus here on Jason McCartney in the polo shirt of the GWS Giants there and Tom Papley. This incident, TJ, is being investigated by the AFL. It needs to be. You cannot have an official of one of the teams getting involved in that moment. Now, he will argue Jason McCartney is trying to placate the situation.
But Papley bumped into him.
I'll have a look at it closely. Have a look.
Or can we play it again?
Let's play it again and let's have a look.
I'll argue that Papley bumped
I'll argue that Jason McCartney's actually leant in there at that stage, if you want to slow that down and have a look. And he should not be there, TJ, in that moment.
Papley's got right away.
Well, let's see what was said too between both people, because it will all be thrashed out and flushed out. And don't forget, it was only in 2021 when Jason McCartney entered the umpire's area of a game at Canberra, and was also, the club was fined $20,000 for him putting himself into that situation. There's going to be a ramification to pay of sorts. Now, again, probably a fine would be what would happen again, but this will be looked at by the AFL, and possibly today, inside the 24 hours, there'll be an announcement.
Watching it over and over, I'll concede that they were both antagonists, but you say that Papley had right away, but Jason McCartney's got every right to be on the ground.
I understand that, but so you're a player moving towards your huddle. I feel like the player has right away over the official who's come onto the ground. I agree with Brent. I feel like Papley's got right away there, and Jason McCartney shouldn't have made any touch.
It's a volatile situation. Papley had gone at it with Toby Green, which was as expected, but that only moments earlier, and they're trying to separate it. And then, again, let's see what the AFL says.
It's not the Windy Hill brawl, but...
No, but just don't put yourself in that situation.
Just on the GWS Giants, Adam Kingsley was bitterly disappointed. Here was him after the game speaking about the loss.
No, we didn't play the last quarter. Just like we didn't play the first quarter against Brisbane a few weeks ago, or the first quarter against Melbourne, or the first quarter against Carlton. We only played 3 quarters. We played a very, very good 3 quarters, but it wasn't good enough.
He's frustrated with the patchy football the Giants have played. They haven't been complete for a while, and Look at this. This is what they did early. You've got to get in the face of the Sydney Swans. The Swans are a side good enough to play 3 quarters, and they've done it all year. They've started so poorly all year, but they find a way to win and be on top of the ladder. That's how good the Giants were early. But what he's saying, at 3-quarter time, it wasn't quite where they need to be. Whitfield has moments where keep your feet. Hayward keeps his. Whitfield loses his, and that's why he's all by himself. So there's one moment for the GWS Giants. Lockie Keefe. You just don't allow a ruckman just to heave it like that. And then you've got these 2 players. You've got Lockie Ash and you've got Jake Lloyd. So I want to know what Ash is doing at this period. He just stops, he walks, he observes, and then that's where Jake Lloyd goes. So this is the Sydney Swans. Warner, I haven't even got on these clips, but he was relentless. Lloyd was unbelievable. Goulden got off the chain. So these are the moments that happened in this game that were not good enough. So this is Braden Campbell, who had an unbelievable last quarter. They just didn't stop his run. You've got to check Braden Campbell's run, otherwise he'll run you off his feet. Dropped his feet. Himmelberg, can you trust him at times? And this is that man, Braden Campbell, because they didn't check his run nice and early. That's what happens. The Swans, you've got to keep going. And then another moment, this is Whitfield and Isaac Heeney. Who would you want in those big last quarter moments? You have to stick that tackle. He doesn't stick it, and Isaac Heeney goes on and kicks that goal of football. So again, the Giants must play 4 quarters. The Swans are good enough not to have to go the whole way at the moment.
Gee, I'll tell you what, this is why the bye week is so good, because they come back fresh.
Good vision,
just,
Lordo.
Yeah,
Good
in
Lordo.
form, good stuff, Lordo.